Okay, so if you missed the notes or need a refresher, here are your multiplying fraction notes. All right, so the first thing that we should copy down is how do we actually multiply fractions together? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're multiplying across. So what does that mean? It means that you are going to multiply your numerator by your numerator, so that top part of your fraction, and then you'll multiply in your denominator the denominator by your denominator. So that's exactly kind of what this means. So if we look at our first example, right, 4 over 5 times 2 over 3. So in our numerator is a 4 and 2, and our denominator is a 5 times a 3. So if I multiply 4 times 2, I will get 8. 5 times 3, I will get 15. So we get to multiply straight across. Okay. Now, what happens if my number is not written as a fraction, as it is in example 2? Well, any integer, right? The 6 is an integer or a whole number, can be rewritten as a fraction, right? So 6 is really 6 over 1. 5 would really be 5 over 1. 4 would really be 4 over 1. 100 is really 100 over 1, right? So any number can be written as a fraction. So the first thing I would do on number 2 would be 4 over 5 times 6 over 1. So I first rewrite it, and then I will multiply the 4 and the 6 together, and the 5 and the 1. So I will get 24 all over 5 as my answer. Okay, so let's get some practice with multiplying fractions together. So here's our first example. So go ahead, try pausing the video and seeing what you get when you multiply 2 over 7 by 3 over 5. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, again, you're going to multiply 2 times 3. So 2 times 3 goes to the top, and then 7 times 5 goes to the bottom. So in reality, 2 times 3 is 6, and 7 times 5 is 35. Now, do you have to write this middle step out? No, you can totally do in your head. So do in head if you want. All right, let's try another example. Actually, that should have been example 3. Here's example 4. So if you didn't get the first one right, let's see if you can get this next one. So 3 over 4 times 5 over 6. Again, pause the video and see how you do. All right, coming back from a paused video, so 3 times 5. Again, you don't have to necessarily do that. Write it out like I am. But if you want to, you can. 4 times 6. So 3 times 5 gives you 15. 4 times 6 gives me 24. And that's it. That's all we're doing. We're not simplifying any fractions or anything. All right, let's do one more. So example 5. What about if I write 2 over 7 times 4? So again, pause that video, try this one out. All right, if we're coming back from the paused video, the first thing I did was I rewrote it as 4 over 1. So 2 times 4 over 7 times 1. So this will give me 8 over 7. Now, we're also noticing this last example, 8 over 7, and our second example, which ended up being 24 over 5, these are actually known as improper fractions. Okay, so that's the next thing that we're going to be talking about. So I'd like you to copy this down. An improper fraction is a fraction that is greater than 1. Right? So notice my examples, 6 over 5, 7 over 3, 11 over 9. What do they all have in common? Well, they all have that their numerator, right, that top number, is larger than their denominator. So that's what makes it an improper fraction. And again, as long as your numerator is larger than your denominator, doesn't matter by how many, you have an improper fraction. So sometimes we don't like to write improper fractions. Sometimes we like to write them as mixed numbers. So a mixed number is a whole number plus the fraction. So we have 1 2/3, 5 4/9, 7 1/4, right? So the 1, the 5, the 7, all of those are your whole numbers. And then the 2/3, the 4/9, the 1/4, that is all your fractions. Okay. So we're going to go back and forth between these two, mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's start with improper fractions. How can I write them as a mixed number? So let's go ahead and look at this slide. So again, copy this down. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So that's our first step. And we're going to write the remainder as a fraction. So what does this look like? Okay, so we are going to put the denominator on the outside of our long division, and we'll put our numerator on the inside. So again, you're going to do a little mental math, right? Mental math. I will write it down. You do not need to copy down mental math. So we're trying to figure out how can I get close to 11. So 3 times 1 gives me 3. Let's see if I can get closer. 3 times 2 gives me 6. All right, let's see if I can get closer. I get 9. I think that's as close as I can get because then I go over. So I want to use this one right here. So 3 times 3 gives me 9. I subtract those two together, and this will give me 2. This is my remainder. So how I am going to write this is our 3 on the top. This is our whole number. Okay, this 2 is your numerator now, and 3 is still your denominator. So this is where we're going to get all of our numbers. So our whole number, which was 3, actually I'll put it up here. So I'm going to say that this is 3 2/3. All right, let's try another one. What happens if I wanted to divide 13 by 5? So go ahead, try pausing the video and seeing if you can come up with a situation where this works. All right, if we're coming up, let's see what we're supposed to get. You should have gotten 2 3/5. Now, if you got that, great. If you didn't get it, let's look to see how you would have gotten it. So change my color. So 5 is going to go on the outside of my long division, and I put 13 on the inside. Again, I'm going to do a little bit of mental math. So mental math. But again, you're not in my head, so I'm going to do it out loud. So 5 times 1 gives me 5. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 5 times 3 gives me 15. Too much. I'm going to use 5 times 2. So this will give me 10. I'm going to subtract, and I get a remainder of 3. So remember, this is your whole number. This is your numerator. And then the 5 is your denominator. I abbreviated my numerator and denominator. So we get 2 3/5. Now you can always go ahead and check your work by going backwards. How can I go from a mixed number to an improper fraction? So this will be our last thing. So again, let's go ahead, copy this down, write a mixed number as an improper fraction. I have some steps for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the denominator by the whole number. And then you're going to add the numerator with step 1 answer and keep the denominator the same. What does that look like? So step 1 on this problem, 3 4/5. We are going to multiply 3 times 5 to get 15. Step 2, we are going to add the 15, which was our answer from our step 1, with the 4. This is going to leave me as 19, so it's my numerator, and we keep the denominator the same, which is 5. So 19 over 5. And again, you can always go backwards and see if that's the same mixed number that you're supposed to get. Let's try one more example. So what happens if I want to change 2 and 5/7? So go ahead, pause the video, try this problem out on your own, see what you get. All right. So if you pause the video and tried it out on your own, you should have gotten 19 over 7. Right? I just happened to pick an example that also gave us 19. If you didn't get 19 over 7, let's figure out why. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 7 times 2. Right? 7 in my denominator, 2 by my whole number, I get 14. I am then going to add that 14 with my numerator 5, and that's where I get that number 19. So that 19 goes up there, and this denominator stays exactly the same. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them.